Hey guys, how's it going? Jovan, Hutton, Pulitzer here. And tonight, this is going to be a really interesting broadcast because we're going to get into a nitty gritty that I think has a lot to do with why certain things might not be happening the way we all expect it to happen in this election, right? We literally are confused as to what's going on in the courts and why are the courts not paying attention to this election information. So while you gear up, I'm gonna pop in my guest that I have this evening, and you might want to write this down because I'm going to point you to her book that you're going to want to get a copy of yourself, because you're going to want to understand what's going on with the court systems. And you're right, Frankie, this is incredibly frustrating, right? It is incredibly frustrating to not understand what is going on with our legal system and why aren't the courts paying attention to this, right? I'm going to play you a quick intro. I want you to watch this as it kind of introduces my guest tonight. Watch this real quick.
There are certain problems that you see in society, you can imagine what they are, that people just want to keep hushed up. They don't want to talk about because it's better we pretend it doesn't exist. We know that there are problems with the judiciary. We know that there are things ranging from corrupt judges who out and out take money, to judges who are biased, to judges who do favors for their friends.
Our court system is completely politicized from the top down. We do not choose our judges. The political machine party bosses do. The judiciary is without meaningful oversight or accountability. What that means is that what happens in court stays in court. And I think you'd be better off in Vegas, because victims of legal abuse have no recourse. The court system has to be the one safe place that we can all turn to. Unfortunately, it is not.
This book examines the whole system, the whole problematic system. And it gives you, if you've ever been the victim of maybe what you thought was an injustice, a biased system, it gives you at least some hope that you weren't mistaken.
I didn't want to walk this path. I didn't want to see what I have witnessed. I didn't want to know what I know. Life has taken me through valleys of darkness and has shown me things that were transpiring in our precious court system that I had lacked the imagination to believe was even possible. I have seen misconduct by the judiciary protected and enabled.
Does that sound familiar? Think about this. All of us are wondering what happened to our judiciary. We are shocked that our system is broken. We don't know why it's broken. We don't know how do they even get away with it being broken. And if all of us are untrained eyes in this legal machinations, how can we even see it with our own eyes, only to have the lower court judges, or all of the judges, we don't know yet, turn a blind eye to it? What are we missing? What's going on? What's the disconnect? And so I want to introduce you to Susan. Now, Susan, I want to say this right. Settenbrino, am I saying that right?
Settenbrino.
And you said it meant something in Italian. What does it mean?
Little number 7.
Little number 7, right?
Yes. I'm a half a meatball, a half a matzo ball.
Half a meatball, half a matzo ball. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Fantastic. And people are already commenting. Daniel says there is no justice in the halls of justice. Folks, give Susan a shout out where you're joining in from. We've got people from Atlanta. Everybody's saying thanks for keeping the faith, right? Blaze says, hello, Susan. Hello. Carrie says, listen, if I have to listen to one more idiot Democrat on all this, I'm going to pull my hair out.
Oh, don't do that. No.
Then you understood what happened to me. It's kind of what goes on, right? So let us know where you're.
We're going to fix that.
There you go. We're going to definitely fix that. So we got Wisconsin on the line. We got Fresno on the line. We got Kentucky on the line. Arizona on the line. Flower Branch, Georgia,
amazing.
Northeast
This
Georgia.
Is amazing. I love it. I love it.
Isn't
people
it?
Who care, people who say, we have our own mind. We know what's going on. We're not going to be silenced. We want to know more. And I want to do a shout out to you because I know how hard it is to stand up against, the powers that be. And I know what I see. I'm so impressed with you because you are a man of truth. You are a man who cares about principle. And you are sacrificing so much of your time and your safety, your security, and just even your profession to do what you're doing. But we need people like you, Jovan. The world really revolves and gets furthered only because there are people like you. So God bless you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you're doing for us.
Thank you very much. Wow, you made me blush. And coming from a half matzo ball meatball.
You want to do a cooking show?
That's fantastic. We could, right? We could. Yeah. And I love matzo ball soup and Chattanooga.
I make a good matzo ball soup. And I make a good meatball. So I do both.
That's very good. Congratulations. So let's talk about this. Tell everybody, why did you do your book? But before you did that, I want to give them a little bit about your story. Here's the book we're talking about, folks. I'm going to go to my screen and I'm going to show you how you can find it. And you want to look it up because basically this is the whole premise. I love the name of the book, Unchecked Power, right? Yeah. Unchecked Power Guide, the New York State court system. You want to check this out as we go through the broadcast. I'm going to keep on putting the link up at different times. But there's a story behind this of how this personally came about for you. Let's start there. Susan, tell us that story.
Yeah, and I do want to say that even though it's centered around New York, it doesn't matter. It's really, people who know and read the book, it's the blueprint for how a government can be weaponized. And it's what we've seen with Donald Trump, with President Trump for the last 4 years and up to date. It's how the government is weaponized. So why did I write this book? Obviously, I didn't want to sit and write this book and self-publish this book and put it out there, but I had no choice because I was going through the system. I was representing many people in the system, and I started to see this. I started to look at the system I was in and how politicized it was. And people used to call me Batman, my kids, because I would go to Gotham City and fight corruption. I said, I didn't sign on for this. I went to law school. Let's deal with the facts. Let's deal with the law. I don't want to deal with politics. But it was completely political and dangerous too. And so I didn't go through all the stories of my own experiences. What I did was I started to read articles and journals, and I saw that, news articles that talked about corruption, they made it look like it was sporadic. And I knew that it wasn't sporadic. So I wanted to put everything on one platter. I wanted to look at the whole system. So when I put everything on one platter, it was very clear how they weaponize, how they say, oh, we'll fix it next time, we'll do commissions, who the players were, who they choose to put in high places. And and all the articles regarding corruption here and there, really, it was overwhelming and it's undeniable. So the book really is a very objective work. It's not me telling you, it's me showing you on one platter how you have overwhelming corruption, that it's not sporadic, it's very designed, it's a tight fist of power running through the government. And the biggest thing I want to say, and that is so important for people to understand, is that we have, in the court system, you have the legal ethics, the disciplinary committee, and you have the judicial ethics committee. Those are the pillars of the court system. If they were operating correctly and crimes were being committed in the courthouse, then they would be addressed and there would be an end to it. But if you wanted to create unfettered criminal activity, criminal enterprises throughout the court system, all you have to do is place compromised people in the ethics committee and in the judicial ethics committee. And what happens is when the whistleblowers complain or victims seek oversight, they can be targeted and silenced, and the criminals and the criminal activity will be furthered. And you're talking about over a $2 billion budget. But I just want to finish.
And that's just in the state of New York.
What? And that's just in the state of New York. And there's been overwhelming evidence that it's run like this, but never dealt with. And the interesting thing is, it applies this rule of law about oversight. The FBI, the Justice Department, they said if they had been operating properly, because they're just like the disciplinary committee and the judicial ethics committee for the government, the FBI, the Justice Department, the CIA, if they were running and they were not compromised, then if there was anything going on within government or the election or Russia hoax or any of the things that have happened, if they were operating properly, they would have been addressed, and we wouldn't have spent the last 4 years being dragged through what we've seen. And
it's amazing how frustrated everybody is. I want to point out something you said. You said your boys called you like Batman. I want to show folks this, because when you dive into Susan's background, it's not only is she good at what she does and she's smart as a whip. People love her, and they love her because she's a fighter for them. Watch this.
I have seen children deny the love and comfort of their parents without any basis in fact or law. I have seen people's lives destroyed without any basis in fact or law. People like you and me who turn to our court system for help have instead had their entire lives, their finances, and their families destroyed.
Some of the things that she is talking in the book, I have seen her in action personally, and I've seen how effective she can be, and I've seen also how caring and compassionate she is.
People who had the good fortune to have her as their attorney, Susan's known for her selfless idealism, fighting the good fight by rescuing these clients. She's recused questionable judges, to say the least, and rescued these innocent clients from this good old boy system. She's confronting this monolith of evil. What an incredible thing to do.
I think that's fantastic. Your brother, and I'm going to play another clip from your brother real quick, but hang on. And so I think it's fantastic how everybody sings your praises, and these are real people that had real issues and you helped them with it. But then I saw your brother there. I found out that you and I share something in common that I didn't even know that you and I shared. Let me show this to the audience real quick. Take a look at this.
In the world that we live in, I believe you try to make a difference. That's what it's all about, making a difference. People do it in different ways. People are teachers, and they're the best teachers, and they care so much for the children. They try to do everything in the world. That's great. Other people, do other things to make a difference, to improve the world. Susan is that way. She is so determined.
When I think about Susan, I think about her. She's my younger sister, and I had my first car. I inherited this magnificent 61 T-Bird, and it was a snowstorm, and it was stolen. And Susan was about 10 years old at the time. She was walking with my mom in this heavy snow, and she saw the guys driving around in the car. Well, she chased the car down, this little girl, and they got stuck. They couldn't go. And she was screaming, "That's my brother's car!" And they got out of the car. They left the car. I got the car back.
I love that story, and I have to laugh because I can see you doing that, knowing you as an adult, and that's the spirit that's within you to be a fighter. But here's an interesting story. When I was 10 years old and my family, we went to see other family about 70 miles out of town, and we took the family sedan, if you want to call it that. Now, most people know my background. It wasn't like the greatest in the world. And I had a stepmother that was a chain smoker. And even though she was a horrible chain smoker, she smoked about 4 packs a day.
Yeah.
And in the car, there was a rule that we can't talk, right? Kids were to be seen, not heard. And we couldn't roll down the windows, right?
Oh
it
my
just wasn't
God.
allowed. And she
This is
smoked
getting
a lot.
bad.
So we made the best of it as kids. And we actually learned that we could draw on the windows in the tar. So we could draw pictures because there were so many tars in the window. But that's not the point. So we get back from this little family weekend vacation and we come home and my father's brand new truck is stolen. It's gone.
Oh my God.
And we pull up. And so my dad calls the police and the police show up and they're just standing there kind of taking a report. And okay, yes, sir. We don't really know how we find it. It wasn't like Adam 12 or Dragnet or anything. They weren't really interested. And I looked at the sidewalk, or we didn't have a sidewalk, but the yard, the street where the curb was, and I saw candy wrappers and stuff. Now I knew those weren't ours, right? Candy was a no-no in the family. And so when I saw the candy stuff and I saw a soda can run over, I knew that this must be kids. And I told the cops, I said, this had to be kids that taken it. Look at this. And I said, if it's kids, they're just driving around somewhere in the neighborhood. Just drive around, you'll find them.
So
and sure enough, the
Wow.
police went and drove around, and not even a quarter mile from the house, here are these kids joyriding in my dad's truck. And when the police show up, they split and run, and we got the truck back with no damage. But I can imagine how great your brother felt with a T-Bird. He kind of sounds to me like Christopher Walken, right? And he's, my favorite T-Bird is going. And so, and you were the hero.
Yeah, that was, I remember that day. I remember I was actually coming off a train station with my mom and I kind of had a bird's eye view and I saw the car because it was so identifiable. And I'm like, I ran down. My mother's like, wait, she couldn't catch up with me. But it was really funny because it was like a dead end and it actually worked. It empowered me. I'm like, wow, I made this happen. He got his car back. So it was very empowering. And I was so happy for him.
That's fantastic. If you listen today, and I'm gonna cut to Irv here. Oh wait, my screen's not working. That's weird. Okay, I've lost my screen control. Now that would be there it is. That would be horrible. Irv says here, Jovan, probably in humor. Jovan, why are you home, bro? Get your ass doing forensics, damn it. Now I'm gonna take that as a joke,
Yeah.
but you have to understand, I have no control. I
Right.
don't tell them when or where or how or even to do it. And even today, you saw a Republican in Arizona basically side with the other side and says, we don't want to make waves. We can figure this out. When they're willing to hold them for contempt of court and basically throw them in jail for not complying. That's how much they want to hide this. And a Republican that should be fighting for the audit says, well, we want to do that. We'll work it out later. No, what he really said is, I don't care about rule of law. And if you don't comply with subpoenas and legal orders, well, big deal. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo. Susan, does this go on a lot? Is this just kind of the way it is?
Yes, if there's no oversight and there's an agenda, they're going to do what they want. And I think it happens all too often. There's no one to go to. It's the sort of like defunding the police. If you have no oversight, you have no police. If you have crimes being committed, even though you have all the evidence, nobody will care. So, I even think that what's gone on with the impeachment today is really, in my opinion, I have to ask you, I mean, is it true that the election has been verified and there's no question about it? Because
No,
it's not true. Oh,
not
so
true. Not
there
true at
remains
all.
questions. It hasn't been verified.
No.
Oh, okay. Because my thought was when you
Now
listen,
you're saying from what they said on TV that the election's been verified,
Yeah.
and here it all's been verified and everything's true.
oh
No,
yeah,
no. And here's how I look at it. Let's go back in time to the 60s. It's Charles Manson. His crew kills a bunch of people, but they caught Charlie and they now want to prosecute him and says that was wrong. But Charlie says, okay, here's the deal. I get to pick my jury and I'll tell you where to go look for evidence. You don't go look to where you think you have to look. That's exactly what's going on in Arizona.
Well, to me, it's like, because I dealt with child abuse and I dealt with different types of abuse, it's sort of like an abuser who goes and abuses a child and says, if you say anything, if you do anything, you're going to, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. So it's like, who else would tell you, don't say anything, don't think anything, don't do anything, but an abuser? Who else would tell you that? So what I wanted to ask, because to me, I don't think this is only about not ruining Trump's chance to get reelected. Because obviously, if you don't fix the integrity of the election, Trump and nobody will get elected. But this is what I do think. I think, just like with the Ukraine call, where they had to impeach him. Why did they have to impeach him? I'll tell you why. Because, do you ever play that game where you're getting hottest?
That's right.
So he was really hottest. He was getting involved with the Ukrainian president. He was on the trail. What could have happened? They wanted to make sure that relationship went south, that no information would be exposed, and that any corruption would be protected. And I believe that this impeachment is done the same way for the same reason, which is they feel that there are loose ends out there with the election, that there are millions of people who doubt it. There's a lot of evidence brought forth in the lawsuits that are going forward. They want to make sure that this dies a sudden death and never ever gets revived. How do you do that? And if you watch the impeachment, the videos they show, they kept saying, you said this was a landslide election. You said that. So if Trump's lawyers remain silent and they don't say, and they just pretend that he had no basis for this, that's how they will silence. So when you seek to get the ballots in Arizona or anywhere else, this is a way to silence you, to silence every state and say, look, he's got impeached for it or he got censored, but it was clearly, we can never talk about this again. And that's really what they're trying to do. So here's my question to you.
Go.
What if Donald Trump was correct? What if the election was stolen? What would that mean? What would that mean for our national security? What would that mean for the millions of voters? What would that mean for a peaceful transition? So I'm asking you, and I'm not telling you, but I have a brain, and it was given to me not by the Democrats and not by the Republicans, so I'm going to use it. And my brain says, what if this was a stolen election? What if? So tell me, what does that mean?
I look at it right now, there are three types of people out there. I think it's now winnowing down to two. You're either going to turn away from it and just ignore it and hope it goes away, or you're going to actually fight for it. But there's three type of election people, should I say. There are people that do not believe that there was any election fraud. To me, I believe that's a person that's not using critical thinking and hasn't done any digging on their own. And they're probably more party biased than anything else. Now, I tell those people, if you're willing to win an election at any cost, that you can turn away from this, you have to understand you're next. Because inevitably, in the future, somebody will come down the pipe that doesn't think the way you think. But if they're in the party and they have the vote and elections are rigged, you might get cut off as well. Then there are the people, I've even seen it in the comments tonight. The comments say, I'm not voting again. Well, let me pose something to you. If you're truly patriotic, if you care about the fate of America, you don't have to care about it today, but for children, grandchildren, whatever the case may be, you do have to care about it. If you truly care about America, I want to pose one thing to you when you say, I'm never voting again. Ready? Never voting again is exactly akin to another election never has to be rigged again, right? Because they killed and crushed your spirit. Yes. You're not going to vote anyway. They never need to do it again, which basically means mission accomplished, and you complied with it. Last but not least, those are the people that want to fight. Scott Young's right. Scott says, that's not Scott. Hang on. Boom. Scott, the culture has to be saved. That is, we have to be standing up. We have to be standing up to each other. We have to basically say, we can't take it anymore. We're not going to stand for this. And I think what government misses is government has become so in tune with enriching themselves, they don't pay attention to the people, but the people have full control. If you believe mainstream media, it's your own fault. If you don't get involved, it's your own fault. As I said today in my podcast about critical thinking, I'm to blame for this. You're to blame for it. Every one of you. You know why? Because we never paid attention to what really mattered. We were apathetic. I never voted in a school board election or who cared about who the local judge was of any of that. But you know what happened? They snuck in right underneath us. They put them in and took it away for us. Is that what you found also, Susan?
One of the things I found, there are so many victims of the court system throughout our country. Children, businesses, families, so many victims, people who have, going up to the Supreme Court. It takes years. It bankrupts you. So there are so many. But what happens is because they're in this, they're not cohesive. Nobody has unified against them. If there would be people that said, I'm going to stand by this person or that person when they are being exposed to abuse in the courtroom because it protects all of us, maybe we wouldn't be in this position because they would have made sure that the judicial ethics and the attorney disciplinary and the attorney general's office, but people don't get involved. And they say, they don't understand people in the court system, but now we're all victims of the court system. So now we can be united and now we can make changes. But I do want to say a few things. I listened to your great post today regarding the history of the ballots. Excellent, excellent. I do want to say one thing, that language matters. And one of the things that keeps being said was, even Mike Pence said that that Trump or anyone wanted to overturn the election. Not true. Nobody wanted to. We are entitled as a matter of law to verify the election. So, Mike Pence they asked him to allow it to be verified by the legislatures or by an audit in 10 days, never to overturn. In fact, overturning an election would be if it was an illegal election on a widespread scale, then that would be overturning the election from Donald Trump to Biden. But the other thing is, people say we want to get rid of, when they were going through the courts, they said, we want to get rid of hundreds of thousands of votes. No. What is a vote? A vote is a verified ballot.
Right.
A vote, otherwise, a ballot is a piece of paper. Sorry,
right.
My printer has a life of its own.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Don't worry about it at all.
Probably
so
let
me answer this on the screen real quick. TKV Bob says, we aren't going to take it anymore. But he says, okay, now what? What do we do? What do we do to fix this election? Now that sounds obvious, but I'm going to give you an answer you might not like. Okay. This is no longer about this election. This is no longer even about this president.
Exactly.
This is no longer about Democrats or Republicans. This is about this country and our future.
Absolutely.
Now, a few things I want to point out to people. You know what you should think about? You are watching supposedly an impeachment trial for a citizen. Now, or are you watching an impeachment trial for a president? See, there's an interesting little twist in there that they don't do this to impeach a citizen. They do it to impeach a president. So I submit to you, are they actually really working on impeaching a president because they themselves know that the election one was rigged? The election is possibly going to get overturned. And therefore, this is a preemptive strike to put so much pressure to basically damage even more reputation that they're trying again to invalidate him before he comes back in. Have you ever thought about that? You don't impeach citizens. What do you think about that, Susan?
Well, I think it's very interesting because they waited for him to become a citizen, and they could have done it while he was the president. And as his lawyers pointed out, that's, prejudicing him regarding due process and having a fair arbiter and all that. But, some people say that, but, I don't know where that goes. I do know that they are clearly afraid. And this election is we just spoke about the game, hottest. It is hot. But
Right.
The thing is, you see, I heard on your post that you were saying that they want to get more machines in Ohio, right?
That's right.
Right. So they want this to be buried. They want to continue with this as is. There will be no changes. So I think it's crucial for Donald Trump's lawyers to address the fact, he wasn't just saying I won by a landslide. He was relying on information that he had. He's not putting his entire life and family's life on the line for this. He's not going to fight that to the end. He had a basis for this. So that's what they want to destroy. They want to destroy that basis. We should not let them destroy that basis. His lawyers should not let them. And if they can't do their job, he should get lawyers that will do. I'll go in there and I will show the basis, because there's overwhelming basis, that he relied on and he risked his life for. And he's risked his family's life and fortune and everything for. So this is just, it's not acceptable. But I do want to say something very dear to my heart, and I think you would appreciate this. I have loved many Holocaust survivors. I have gone through, I have loved them. I mean, they're a dying group, and they've had the numbers, they had their life, they had so many stories I could tell. And we're forgetting about them. But when you go through the Holocaust museums, or if you know Holocaust survivors, you will find one thing in common that petrifies them. You know what it is? It's propaganda.
That's right.
And what they have done, the media and the Democrats, whatever, and the rhinos, they have created, and even this entire impeachment is all propaganda. And it's so dangerous. And that's what fueled and enabled a Holocaust. And when we said never again, it wasn't only that we wouldn't walk into the gas chamber or we wouldn't line up to be killed. It meant that we would safeguard our rights to free speech, our rights to the integrity of our legal system and the election system, which is our national security. And like you said in your post, that's the only way to have democracy, is to have a fair and free electoral process.
I think I'm sensitive to this in a lot of ways that are different than most people. One, with me being a first generation American myself, but also having an American side of the family that has deep, long trenches and history in the Americas. And it connects home with me losing, grandparents in a ghetto in Germany. But then at the same time, understanding sometimes the system becomes so bad and oppressive in trying to silence a people and exterminate a people that sometimes you kind of have to play along just so your family survives. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have one particular grandfather that played along with Nazi Germany. So just I and my siblings and stuff could survive. And
What does that
that's
mean? What does that mean? Can you say a little bit about
Oh,
it?
sure. I sure can say what it means. My grandfather was a Nazi SS officer. I know that sounds horrid being a Jew,
Wow.
but that's the extreme that can happen when your family gets crushed and killed, and with his own mother dying in a ghetto, literally having to, quote unquote, play like you're going along with not the program, but the program. And you basically become a Nazi. He became a flyer. And basically, it's an ironic story that he became a Nazi. He ultimately ended up being a double agent for the Allies and got the Nazis back. But for me, it puts it into perspective for me, because I understand that's what's going on. You know, you're looking at fascism going on, and you're looking at propaganda, and you're looking at censoring, and you're looking at, you can't say certain things, you've got to look a certain way, we've got to control the media, we're going to suppress the people. That is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany.
Yes.
What they told you the Trump administration was doing was actually what their plan is, and they are executing on it.
Exactly.
And you'll find people that in order for their families to survive, they will adopt, quote unquote, the new religion, the new way, the new standard, just to keep themselves from being persecuted so they can operate. I'll give you an example. In Nazi Germany, right now, people always ask, why are Jewish people always either lawyers or doctors or bankers? You know, it started long ago with the persecution of the Jews based on Christian values. You couldn't touch a dead body. You couldn't have terms of usury, meaning lending money, et cetera, et cetera. So it was left to the undesirables. The Jews could do it, and that's how the Jews came back into power.
Exactly.
But in this prosecution, if you were to look at myself as an Ashkenazi Jew, right? If you even look down to my particular group, was exterminated down 600, 800 years ago to only 350 people.
Right.
There were only 350 of us left at that time, that all we come down to now. And it was all because a grab for power, etc. Most people don't even know their history. I'll give you an example. Did you know that most of the Spanish conquistadors were Jews? Most people do not know that, but they were Jews.
Yeah.
And what happened is when the church came in and the government seized their properties and seized their lands, well, they had nothing. But because they were undesirables and unfavored, if they wanted to take risk for the crown, in this case, they were smart, learned men, they could sell the world. If you were willing to go conquer in the name of the crown, then you could actually do that. You could regain your wealth, and you just sent your royal quinto, your royal fifth, back to the crown, and you could do it again. This is what's going on right now. I think it's ironic, but this is literally what's in practice right now in modern day.
Right. And so the language that they use with propaganda, insurrection, you know, Scott Adams had a very good show. I mean, well, you wouldn't send, you know, a guy with a Viking hat and zip ties to do an insurrection against the strongest, the most powerful army in the world. You know, it's just ridiculous. And it's really insulting to watch this. And I'll tell you what else is very insulting. The energy, the funds that they're using and that they've used, these are our funds. The power that they're using, we gave them this power. We did not give it to them to waste the last 4 years and destroy a presidency, to destroy a man, the people, the president that over 74 million voted for. There are people who are suffering to put food on the table, businesses going under, children not in school, people with health issues. How dare they? How dare they use their energy, our money, our funds, our empowerment to do this? It's totally unacceptable. And you know, we do have to stand together. We need to be a cohesive group and not allow this.
That's what people need to understand. You're right, Mr. Dread 88. They work for us. That's the truth.
Yes.
You have more power than you realize.
Exactly.
The reason they censor is because you have power.
Yes.
The reason they won't let things air or won't let things be seen is because you're right. not because you were wrong. And so, just like I said earlier, why would you impeach somebody who's not a president? You can never erase them being president. So why would you impeach them unless you know something the rest of the nation is not allowed to know, and you want to do your damnedest to keep it from happening?
You know, that's very interesting, because even in my book, I always said, and it always appeared to me, the way the stage was one mafia fighting another mafia. And when I say mafia, I mean organized crime people. And make no mistake about it, many of the people that are out there that we've become accustomed to are hardened criminals, okay? And we've just become accustomed, we laugh at them, we say lock them up, but they are hardened criminals. And they are out there, and they have used our empowerment, their platform that we gave them, our money, to make themselves rich, to look out for each other and each other's kids and professions and all that. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's just what has happened as a result of this election, as a result of President Trump. Everything is exposed, and it's undeniable. It's undeniable.
It's in our faces. Our eyes have been opened up. I'm going to play something for the audience real quick so you understand Susan's background a little more. But Susan, when I come back, I want you to think about this. Let's talk about Biden Hunter's laptop in the context that his business partner's brother in a law firm now has a cabinet position or something like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Anyway, folks, here's part of why Susan has such a sterling reputation and why people love her. Watch this.
When you don't go along with the system comes after you. I don't mean everybody, but you know, when you rock the boat, you know, there are consequences. And Susan knows that very, very well. And she is determined.
The system is operating in a dangerous manner, and it's up to us to stop it. We have the power. We can save lives. This is why I wrote the Unchecked Power Guide.
There are problems. They can be fixed with enough pressure to fix them. We can get past an elected judiciary. We can make the system better, but it takes an informed population.
The one candle does not light up a lot, but a lot of candles do light up, and you start seeing the light. So eventually, if all of us are going to take to heart and spread the word, and the message in Susan's book is going to go a long way to try to correct some of the injustices that today's judiciary and court system needs to be improved.
You've already made a difference, Susan, and I thank you for that.
So, Susan, it's true you made a difference. And let's go back to the one reference. See, we're the 120 million points of light.
Yes.
You know, when you think of candle powers, a flashlight, a great flashlight is like 10,000 candle powers. That's a big, bright floodlight. Yes. I suggest to you there are 85 million people out there that feels their vote was robbed from them. There's another people on the other side that feels like, no, elections should be honest and I won't stand for it. And my party has left me. So I think we're 120 million candle power wattage should be signed on this. But they're doing stuff like letting Hunter Biden walk away. Have you followed up on that? And do you know what I'm talking about? Explain that to me, what they did.
Well, that's what's going to happen. And he's going to. It was his business partner put into the AG's office. I forgot which office it was, but it was the office that would have.
Somebody said Joe made lawyers for Hunter's case head of the DOJ.
Yes, I saw that. It was his business, Hunter Biden's business partner, who was made head of DOJ. Okay, so but this is how it goes, you know. So what do you think? What I said in the beginning, it's basically like defunding the police, like having no police. If the FBI is compromised, and it's very easy to do. People think, oh, it's so difficult to have corruption all over. No, it's very easy. All you have to, all the FBI people, they're going to work. They're thinking that they're working for a real agency that's, you know, doing its job. But all you have to do is place people in positions of power in the FBI the CIA, the Justice Department, they decide what cases go forward, what cases don't, what we do with the evidence. And that's how it's worked for the last 4 years, that and more. I mean, the last 4 years that we know about with Hillary and everyone. So what do you think is going to happen? Nothing will change if Biden is allowed to proceed as he is. Nothing will change. All will be protected. And he'll write his book, Hunter, and they'll say, they'll come up with some PR and, say, he's a better man now. He's learned so much. And then they'll do maybe a false investigation that says, it wasn't really this. The laptop, they already said that there were certain things on, that there wasn't certain things on that others said there was. So they'll whitewash the laptop. They'll make it look more PG rated, and they'll whitewash any crimes and minimize. He's still involved with the Chinese company, isn't he? That, he hasn't absolved himself from. So bottom line is, they actually treat the people like they're dumb. They treat people like, I don't care about you. That's why you saw they wanted to give millions to foreign countries, and they were fighting over $600 for the American person who is, this is our money. Why don't we decide where it goes? But the bottom line is, nothing will change. Nothing will change unless we create the change. Nothing can change. They're very brazen. You know that.
It's in everybody's face.
Yeah.
It's out in the open. It's more like nanny boo boo.
You know what
But
it's
then
like?
again,
Yeah. You know what it's like? The mob guy. He, the guy's laying there with the knife in his heart, and it's like, too bad he died of a heart attack.
That's right.
That's
right.
what it is.
Well, he wouldn't have died of a heart attack. That's wrong. That's completely wrong. He would have died of COVID.
Oh, okay. Too bad he died of COVID. Right.
With a knife in his heart.
Right. With a knife in his heart. Right.
I look at this like a caged animal or a wounded animal. If anybody has ever hunted big game, and if you have, post that crap on Instagram and tell people to eat it, because I think people don't understand. I'm going to go on a diatribe real quick. You see somebody kill an elephant and post it on Instagram, and people will go out to cancel the person for killing the elephant. What they don't understand is how that business ecosystem works. Here's how it works. If somebody wanted to hunt an elephant, let's say you want to bag an elephant, there's really only two kinds of elephants you get the right to hunt. Number one, you get to hunt a sick elephant, which needs to be culled from the herd. Or you got an elephant that has become a man killer, which they have to put down, and so they let somebody come hunt it. So that hunter, in many circumstances, will come in, could pay $150,000 to hunt that rare beast. Oh. All of that money goes to the locals. Every bit of it goes to the locals in the tribe, and they allow you to cull that sick elephant. Wow. So it doesn't get the rest of the herd diseased, or to cull that killer elephant that will end up killing people. It is a system that works, but yet these idiots have no idea what it's really like, and they think you can go buy a plane ticket, go to Zimbabwe, buy a rifle, walk outside, and kill an elephant. No, idiots. That's not how it works. So anyway.
That's so special. You are such a fountain of information. Maybe you should have your own encyclopedia, because there's so much that you know. But what you just said is special, because I often think people don't have an appreciation, sort of like Milton Friedman. He talks about the pencil and the eraser, and you have to get this wood from here, and look it up. It's an excellent presentation, but people do not get it. They don't think past the bumper sticker. And critical thinking is what you have stressed. Every child and every person should really get a course in critical thinking, because they have to look past the bumper stickers, and they have to really look at, well, what is this about the elephant? Should we be for it, or should we just agree with everyone else that it's wrong, but we know nothing about it? And my question to you is, how do you like, is it a hard thing to hunt an elephant? I would think it's pretty easy to get that elephant, you know? No, is it hard? Does he run quick or? Oh.
Not really. You know, it's look, I think what happened to this free will? Let people live, let people do what they believe in, and we have dumbed ourselves down. I talked about it before. Here we are, the most advanced society that has ever existed. For the first time in your life, as long as you have a connection, just like this one we're on, which by default says everybody participating in this has the ability to do this. You can go to major universities, you can take their courses, a lot of them absolutely for free, and better yourself. But at the same time, we have more access to more information and knowledge. We are the stupidest civilization to be on the planet at this time, because we believe news happens in some twat tweet of 40 to 100 characters, and that's what decides what is truth. We are upside down. So Susan, in wrapping up here, tell me, if you could wave a magic wand,
I can.
Number one, what would you change in the system? And two, what would you tell the viewers tonight they need to do to get involved?
One is oversight / transparency. I would, you know, if I was advising Donald Trump when he was in office, I would have said, clean out the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, make sure that it's running properly. We wouldn't be in this position today. And cameras everywhere in every courtroom, everything should be public, because the light of day is really what they are afraid of. And that's what this whole thing is about. Light of day, you doing the ballot scanning, afraid of the light of day. And you are the light of day.
Thank you.
What would I advise everyone to do? Please, let's be united. Let's think past the bumper stickers. Let's not go along to get along. Let's not keep going to Amazon and all the companies that act inappropriately and shut us down. Let's realize that we have the power. We are the people, that everything was created for us. Let's organize and let's do things by following you and others who are leaders in this field. Let's demand. Let's never give up on our election integrity. Let's never give up on, repealing Gavin Newsom and other politicians who are acting inappropriately. Let's fight the fight in a constructive, intelligent manner, and never give up and never succumb, ever succumb.
So thank you very much, Susan. I'm going to have the final word here. I just want to let everybody know, and Susan, I want to thank you very, very much. I could tell that everybody loved you and stuff. Folks, I'm going to put up, once again, I'm going to put up her banner, and I want to encourage you, please, let me share my screen again, to consider going to Amazon. I'm going to show you how to get the book here. It's basically called Unchecked Power Guide. If you want to understand how this works, it's a real eye-opener. I've watched seminars that she's presented. I understand this. It's very, very important. This is going to be critical that everybody wakes up how we appoint our judges and everything across the United States of America. And if you want to get to the nitty-gritty, there is no better place than getting to the nitty-gritty than getting with Susan as she fought this battle in New York City. Right? That's the epitome of where this stuff's going on. So I want to encourage you to actually go get the book. So Susan, thank you for joining us. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate it for everybody out there. We'll have you back again. Thank you very much. Now, for folks, I want to remind you, please, this battle is not over. Not at all. This battle is not over. We are in the fight. And like you saw in that one beautiful testimonial for Susan, it's very hard to do a thing with one candle. But when you understand bright light is measured by candle power, and you realize there's at least 120 million of us in this country that want to get this fixed, get it right, and still have our freedoms and still have our country. That is a powerful, powerful, powerful light. Please remember, folks, get out there, keep fighting. Angela says she just made spaghetti and meatballs. There you go. It is not over, folks. Remember that. it is not over. Just like JMO says, JMO has the last word. Folks, you matter. And just like Susan says that I now use, if you want justice, you got to remember it's not the politicians that are going to do it. It's just us, you and I, everybody doing this. You care. You've got to get out there, get your voice heard, do the deep critical thinking. Do the deep critical thinking. Do not just rely on bite-sized information. Love you all. Take care, folks. See you again next time. Bye-bye.